This is Azela, my ass. Love stories, don't you, Azela? Yeah. But listen, we're in the same bubble. You don't need to wear your mask. We're indoors. If you went out later to shop or go on the street, you should wear it. But here, now, I'm going to take this off, okay? You don't need it right now. There you go. Now your ears are free, long ears. They're so beautiful. I know, you have long ears because you like to listen to long stories. Okay. So here's another story for you. This is all part of the Storyteller's ass. This is my ass, Azela. Hello. Gray, intelligent, very nice ass. And there was once a man and his son and their ass. You like to be in my story? Okay. So the three of them are outside the village and they're by the garden. The man's hoeing, his little boy's helping in the garden. And what's the donkey doing? The ass is eating the grass. Okay, so the three of them are out there. It's a beautiful day. When all of a sudden, something happened. If it hadn't happened, how could I tell you about it? Yeah, I know. That's what I always say, right? And that's what I heard from my mother. That's how she told stories too. So a man comes racing down the road. He's in a big hurry. He's really going along fast. It's like the people I see when I take you for a walk in the morning. And in the ravine where I live in Toronto, there are always people jogging with headphones on, and they're always in a big hurry. They never listen to the birds. They're always listening to their podcasts or what. Anyway, so going along. So this man's racing along, and he comes up to the father and the son and the donkey, and he says, "Hey, you!" So, yeah, hello, nice to see you. They stop gardening and they look over and the man says, he says to the stranger, "Well, how can I help you?" And the man said, "Well, here now, I'm in a big hurry. I need a place to stay. And I was wondering, what are the people of your village like? I need a place to stay." The father looked at the man, and looked at his son, looked at the donkey, and he said, "Well, you see, that depends. What were the people like in the village you just came from?" And the man said, "I didn't like them very much. They were mean. They never had enough time for me. They're very impatient people. I would say very self-centered people. I didn't like them. That's why I left. And that's why I need a place to stay tonight. So what are the people like in your village?" And the man said, "Well, I'm afraid you're going to find the people of our village much the same as the people in the village you just came from." The man said, "That's what I was afraid of. People like that are everywhere. I'm not even going to try to stay. Goodbye." Boop, runs away down the road. Man picks up his hoe and he says to his son, "They say, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk with friends." Yes, Azela. And bring your ass with you. And then you walk far. So the two of them are continuing to work in the garden when all of a sudden another man comes down the road. He's not in such a hurry, but he's going along pretty fast. He comes up and he says, "Hello, sir," and "Hello, young man." I'm afraid he doesn't see the donkey. You get sad about that. He just doesn't. Anyway, he says, hello, and he says, I'm a traveler, and I'm looking for a place to stay, and I was wondering, what are the people like in your village? I'm trying to decide where to spend the night. And again, the father says, that depends. What were the people like in the village you just came from? The man said, well, honestly, some were pretty nice, others not so kind and nice, a mix. And the father said, well, I think you'll find the people of our village much the same, a mix. And the man said, Well, maybe I'll try. I'll ask around. Thank you. And I'll go into the village and see if I can find a place to stay. And he goes down the road into the village. And so the father and the son are working, and the donkey eating the grass by the side of the road. And a few hours go by when a third person comes down the road. He's walking along, looking at the trees, listening to the birds, coming along, comes up to the father and the son and the donkey. And he stops and he watches them work for a little while. And finally he says, "That's a beautiful garden you have. And it's so nice to see a young man here, the young fella helping his dad. And what a beautiful ass you have. That's such a nice gray donkey with the long ears, well fed. I'll bet you look after your ass very well." And the man's smiling and says to the stranger, "Well, thank you, sir. Can I help you?" And the man said, "Well, as a matter of fact, you can. You see, I'm a traveler. I'm coming down the road. It's getting darker, and I'm looking for a place to stay, and I was wondering about your village. In fact, I was wondering, what are the people of your village like? And the donkeys?" The man said, "Well, that depends. What were the people like in the village you just came from?" The man said, they were pretty wonderful. They were kind and generous. They made me feel welcome. They treated their donkeys very well, always well fed and well looked after. You see, people kind to their animals, they're kind to each other. It was a wonderful place. I could have lived there the rest of my life. But you see, I'm a traveler. And they say, if you only go where others have been, you'll only see what others have seen. And I like to see new things. So I had to say goodbye. It was hard to leave. And I promised I'll be back one day. I cried when I left, and they cried too. The people of that village were absolutely wonderful. And the donkeys too. And the father said, "Well, I think you'll find the people of our village much the same. Go into the village, talk to the chief. She'll help you find a place to stay. And it's nice to have you here. A guest is a gift from God." And the man said, "Sure. Oh, can I give your donkey a little treat?" And he reached into his pocket. And the man said, "Sure." And he gave the ass a nice crispy apple. And they said goodbye. So the man walked into the village, and the father and his son were there and by the garden. It was getting a little darker. And finally the son said, "Daddy, wait a minute. I don't understand. Those three men asked the same question, but you gave different answers to every one of them. The first man, you said the villagers here are mean. The second one, they're all mixed. And the third one, that we're all kind and warm-hearted and welcoming. I don't understand. And why did you send the first man away?" The father said, "Listen, son, I didn't send him away. He chose to go. But it's lucky he did, because you know what they say? It's better to be alone than live with a bad companion. And that man would have been a bad companion in our village. He is angry." And there's another saying that we always say around here, which is that you can have a big piece or a small piece, but there's no such thing as a small quarrel, because even one match can burn down the village. And that man could have been that one match. If he moved in with us, the next thing we'd be building walls around the village to keep strangers out. It's just as well he went on his way. And the little boy said to his father, "But Daddy, I have a question. What are the people of our village really like?" The father looked at his son and he said, "That's a very, very good question, son." And the donkey came over and the donkey said, "Yeah, that's a very good question," because you like questions. I know you, Aizala, you think questions are better than answers, right? Yeah, answers divide us, but the questions we share bring us together. Yeah, so the father said, that's a very good question, son. And here's what I have to say to you. What are the people of our village really like? That depends on you. You like that story, Azola? Yeah. Well, you like all my stories. Yeah, and you're such a good listener with your long ears because you like long stories. So that's another story, and that's a good story to remember. If you like it, tell it to somebody else. Tell them the story of the three travelers, the father, the son, and their beautiful ass. Tell the story, and that's the way stories live. If you share the story can stay alive. Don't hold it to yourself. Let it go out into the world. That's what we're doing here. And if you tell anybody, you're welcome to join the Storyteller and his ass, Azola. And and what do we learn from the story, Azola? What did you learn from my story? Because, stories teach things. Okay, come and tell me what you learned from my story. Okay, so you learned that whenever someone's walking down the road, they should always carry an apple in case they run into a nice ass. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So that's the moral of my story. And thank you for listening.